this June meeting here. And before we get really started off here, we have a resolution we need to pass because we have one of our own retiring. I want to make sure to recognize his decades of service. So Mr. Lewis, we're going to need to bring you up to the front, sir, for photos. All right. Which side for you? All right. All right. So for all of your decades of service to Suffolk, TTAC, and the region, I want to present this to you. I won't say how many years are on here, but there.
At least a couple.
Just a few. But really want to say thank you for everything you have done. You've been a huge service to TTAC, Suffolk. And I know personally, you've always been a great voice of reason whenever I need advice. So I want to say thank you, sir, and present this to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, sir. Wrapping up that resolution, if anyone else would like to add a few words about Mr. Lewis.
Well, I really want to thank Robert. I know I've called on him since I've been back here. Really appreciate every time you come in, you're engaged at TTAC, you make a case, and you always push us to do better. Can't thank you enough for everything that you've done for the region. And I will say it's great to have you all look at you and you always make a motion, which is great for us because that makes our job easier. But thank you for all the years of service, and I really wish you the best in your retirement.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to thank Robert from VDOT. We appreciate all his support over the years. I know he's always been willing to step in and help with any of our stakeholder meetings or groups or committees that we've had. He's been a great voice for transportation and really helped form and mold a lot of the programs that we have that we use here at Hampton Roads and even statewide. So just want to thank Robert for always being there and being willing to help us with any initiative we might have.
So I wanted to echo everyone's comments. We could always count on you, Robert, for bringing just thoughtful insight. And as Pavitra said, making us elevate our game. I know you were our chair when we undertook updating the prioritization tool several years ago, and your guidance and input on that was really beneficial to the region. So thank you for all that you've done.
I would also like to chime in. I am very sad. I have had many dealings with Robert through the years, both when I was in admin and in the programming department, and just so easy to work with and always so helpful. And so you will be missed.
All right. one more here for fun. Robert, several of my years here, you've always been, I think the best word to describe you is engaged. You've been engaged across all levels, all committees, from working groups to TPS, TTAC, and your voice has been heard over the years, has been respected over the years, and just really a big thank you for helping all of that go smoother. Appreciate it.
All right.
Can I go ahead?
Well, again, yeah, go ahead, Keith.
Sorry. I also want to thank you for all your work with the HRTO subcommittee through the years and being willing to volunteer to be the chair. I know usually when we ask for people to volunteer to be chairs, they fly to the exits and want nothing to do with it, but you've always been willing to take on that role, and we definitely appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Robert. Really appreciate everything you guys have done. You've done for us. So Appreciate it. Have we embarrassed you enough sufficiently? Anyone else want to add words? Okay. Seriously, thank you, Robert. You will definitely be missed. So. All right. With that, we will move on to introductions. Dale, I think you have. Let you kick it off first.
All right, so we're excited to introduce a new TPO staff. Sean, go ahead and stand up, Sean. Sean recently graduated from ODU with a degree in GIS and a minor in data science. He comes with some hands-on experience, having interned in ODU's Center for Geospatial Science and also NASA's Develop program. We're super excited to have him on board, and he's ready to jump in and help support the 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan. So welcome, Sean.
All right. Anyone else have introductions of staff members that they brought with them? All right. We'll move on to the approval of the agenda. It's in your packet. Hopefully you guys have had a minute or two to review it. Can I get a motion to approve once you guys are ready? Thank you, Brian.
Second.
Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it. All right, all in favor? All right, any opposed? All right, passes. And then next we'll open up to the public comment period. Anyone from the public have anything they would like to add? All right. And there were no submitted public comments, I believe. Thank you. And then we'll get into our state and federal and military agencies. Mr. Hallisey.
Mr. Chair, we do have a few updates this morning. First, our fiscal year 26 to 31 6-year improvement program. We're coming to the final stages now, getting that approved. The CTB will take a vote. Our Commonwealth Transportation Board will take a vote on that at their June 25th meeting. It will include various funding program approvals to include SGR, bridge and paving, but it'll also include the Round 6 Smart Scale projects as well. The projects that, as presented to our Commonwealth Transportation Board last month in May, the consensus scenario, those will be moved for approval at the June 25th meeting. So we'll send a note out once that's done. Also did want to mention, I know I mentioned at last meeting, the Say Good Repair Local Paving Program, that we were opening it back up for application for a supplemental. So I'm happy to report that the Smart Portal opened up yesterday. It's going to be open until, June 18th, 5 p.m., June 18th. So please be sure to get your applications in. It's for an additional $2 million per locality for paving. So we're very excited to have that. It's a quick turnaround, but we do want to have that, submitted by the deadline. So please take advantage of that. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Sonia and I will be glad to help. So that's all I had. I'm gonna turn it over to my team.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to remind everyone that we have our lap circle workshop. It's next Wednesday, June the 11th. And an email went out earlier this week to let everyone know that we have a venue location change. We are now hosting the event at the DoubleTree down in Virginia Beach next to the convention center. But registration closes today. So if you have anyone or any other staff that wants to register, that ends today. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. I don't see anyone from DRPT here today, so I'll kick it over to the port. Chris?
Good morning. No update to provide, but just also want to thank PDC and TPO staff for coming to visit the port. Last month, we had a number of staff members tour one of our facilities, and as we always say, it's an open invite. Summertime is actually a good time to make those visits. So if anyone after the meeting, you have staff within your department that haven't visited the port, I just want to make that an open invite to you all to please reach out. We'd love to have you visit. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Don't see anyone from the military. FHWA, don't see anybody else either. All right. With that, we will get into the approval of the consent item, which is just the minutes from last month's meeting. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Second. Thank you. All in favor? All right. Any opposed? All right. That passes. With that, we will get into our presentations. Mr. Lambert.
can say something. As Steve makes his way, one of the things we heard from TTAC members was he wanted to know what's happening in the region on various efforts. So we had Suffolk last year to talk about the Suffolk Seaboard Coastline Trail. And this time we thought Virginia Beach has made a lot of progress on funding their trail. So this would be a good opportunity to hear about what's going on with the trail in Virginia Beach. If you have any trail updates that you would like to share, please let me know so we could have you, and that would be a resource for TTAC members.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. So I guess you guys know my name already, so I'll pass that. So I'm here to update you guys on what we're doing here at the city of Virginia Beach. You guys don't know, the Virginia Beach Trail is our former Norfolk Southern right-of-way. It connects us from the city of Norfolk line at the Newtown Transit Hub into town center and all the way to Rudy Park at the ocean front. So it basically follows 264, the Virginia Beach Boulevard corridor. It's been in the making since 1981. It's been in our active transportation plans. Aren't these some amazing documents that we wrote some 45 years ago? The year I was born. But anyway, so it was funny when doing the research on this to notice that this plan wasn't our plan long before even we looked at light rail for this corridor, even when it was just called the Southern Railroad right of way. But it's been a long time in the process and planning documents in our comp plan and as part of a major corridor for active transportation. In 2015, as you all know, there was going to be a light rail extension. I won't go into the details about what happened. But that light rail was a light rail with trail, which was going to build the VB trail alongside the corridor of the light rail. This is just a concept, the design of what it was going to look like. As you all know, we changed our ways in Virginia Beach, and then we kind of had to move forward and see what we were going to do with the corridor. Following that, multiple departments across the city kind of were researching what we were going to do with that corridor. I remember at one time when Brian Solis was still at the city of Virginia Beach, we had conversations about, smart vehicles, connected vehicles. There's probably a few of you that were here like 10 years ago when we had the presentation from about the smart vehicles all being connected, and they're supposed to be here now, but they're not. But that we could build a roadway that they could use this corridor. But at the same time, the city wanted to do a concept study of what the path would look like within that 66-foot Norfolk Southern right-of-way. And we put together a 15% concept plan for that corridor, and it kind of kicked us off of what we were trying to do across the city. So as a total, it's 12.6 miles. 2 miles of existing is the Norfolk Avenue Trail, as we call it today, on Norfolk Avenue, clearly. It's a 12-foot wide path, and it goes from Bird Neck basically to Pacific. And then we also have the Pacific Avenue Boardwalk. So if you're driving down Pacific Avenue at the ocean front from Norfolk Avenue to Winston-Salem, you'll see it on the west side. It's a boardwalk that basically goes over a lake. We actually just recently upgraded it 3 years ago. And then Winston-Salem Avenue Improvement Project, which I'll talk about in a later slide, which is just a small sliver of the trail that connects back into Rudy Park. And as people have been asking, we have recently, over the last 3 years, since magically at the same time I've been here, but I don't take all the credit, but we've gotten 6 miles funded, and then we have another 4.6 miles that is planned. So phase one is, as you guys have heard in the news, we received funding from the SS4A grant for this phase, which is from the Newtown Transit Station to Town Center. We received $14.9 million with that. Simultaneously, we received that winter before, we received a $750,000 grant from Elaine Luria, Representative Elaine Luria, through HUD to help with this project. And then we also received, as part of the easement allocation that we got from Dominion Energy, our city council provided $902,000 as part of our project from those funds. And then following the federal grant, our city council fortunately approved the local match for that grant, which was just under $3 million for phase one. And then magically, somehow we, so some people don't know this, but we actually were applying for basically, there was multiple grants that you could apply for throughout the year. So one of them was SS4A, one of them was Reconnecting Communities and Neighborhoods, RCN, and then also the RAISE grant. Well, we were applying for all three for phase one. We decided that if we were going to do this, we were going to apply for all of them, just reorganize what's the needs and wants in those grants and apply for them. Well, somehow magically, we actually got 2 grants from the federal government at the same time for phase one. Sadly, we didn't get to keep both. But when we met our project manager at FHWA, he sadly told us that we couldn't keep the second one. But we did receive, we were pretty excited that we got both those grants for phase one. We tried our best to talk them into it, but they did not allow it. But we still moved forward. We're still moving forward today. Our federal agreement is nearly complete. We just got approval actually from FHWA in the past 2 weeks that were verbally good. We just had to get everything signed, which is exciting because as you guys have all, if you haven't seen in the news, some federal departments have had some changes over the last 6 months. So it's kind of affected our progress with the agreement for that grant agreement. And, but we're excited that we're going to be able to move forward with that. And in the meantime, we've been moving forward with design. We completed 30% this winter. We're going to be getting the 60% designs from our consultants probably next Friday. And so we'll be moving forward with that. And once we do get the agreement agreed, we'll have a 5-year completion horizon. So with the SS4A grant, you have a 5-year horizon from the date of the agreement to completion of the project. You're allowed 1 extension, they say, but it's basically a 5-year timeline, which luckily none of my engineers are here from Public Works. They weren't very happy about that, but we're excited because it means we're getting the project done in a faster time, and it's showing our city council and citizens that we're actually getting it built. So I think it's kind of helps us. So we'll kind of have a more scheduled timeline once we get the agreement in place, because some of our funding with that 14.9 and the 2.99, the 3 million match, it all matches up to that timeline. And so once we get that in place, we'll be able to come up with a better timeline of when we're going to start construction. And so in the meantime, we're also looking to split the project this into phase 1A and 1B. So phase 1A will be about 1.5 miles of the trail on ground, while the second phase, phase 1B, would be the bridge over Independence. So, which I haven't talked about, but I will in a second. But the biggest part of this project is crossing over the 8 lanes of Independence Boulevard. Independence Boulevard in Virginia Beach, if you don't know, is probably one of the most dangerous intersections and has one of the highest accident rates across the region for pedestrians and cyclists. So getting this crossing across here is a huge game changer, not just for safety, but also for economic impact of the town center area and the western half of that area. And a lot of what our comp plan that Hank's working on is doing, and our Pembroke area and whatnot. So it's just a complete game changer where we're literally working with economic development about their applications for redevelopments in that area, like how it can connect to the bridge and the trail. So, which is pretty neat. And also, if you haven't heard, cost increases are happening across the region. So as you can see in this slide, our phase 1 has increased from 19.6 to $36 million, which most people would be scared of this. Luckily, our city council has doubled down and has approved the extra funds in the future fiscal budget to pay for this. It's really, thankfully, our city council is supportive of this project. And in our budget city council meetings over the last few months, the VB Trail is one of the top priority projects for the city. So we're really ecstatic that they're supporting this trail, not just this phase, but also across the board for future phases that we're going to get complete. So, so hats off to them. If you see one, thank them for me, please, personally. They know who I am, and they know my committee and my boss. But we're really excited that even though the cost came up higher over the last 2 years, we're ecstatic that we can keep moving forward on it. So this is just a concept. The 2018 study, this was one of the concept studies or concept ideas for the bridge over Independence. As you can see, this is just one way that they looked at it. And this is one of the newer versions that we just came out with in the last few months of a concept of what it could look like. So right now, tentatively, we're going to have public meetings for phase one as part of the project in the fall, probably most likely early winter, like December, on this project. And we'll be providing 2 updated concept plans for the bridge. And we're going to allow public opinion, city council, economic development, and all the important people to kind of help decide which one we prefer. But this is just one idea and one concept of it's a gateway project. This isn't just a trail getting over the highway. This is literally the welcome to town center, welcome to Virginia Beaches when you're coming off the highway, from the airport. So we want to make sure that we do it right and that we're welcoming not just locals, but the tourists and businesses that are coming to the area. Phase 2 going forward. Like I said, we had a preliminary engineering report, 15% design complete. We're seeking federal and state funding as we speak. We're going to be putting in for SS4A this summer for this phase. We did last year too. We haven't gotten to meet with FHWA on the reasons why we didn't get funding last year. Clearly, same issues that we were having with our grant agreement. But we're moving forward applying for this phase. For that same grant, and we're just rewording things, kind of changing up our application based off of the federal regulations and mandates that they're requesting that are important to USDOT and FHWA. Phase 2 goes from Town Center to South Plaza. So we have a key improvements that we're gonna have to look at is South Plaza Trail and Rosemont Road for you highway nerds. Those are 2 intersections of 264 that are poorly designed and very, very old. And we don't have the funds in our CIP or they're not in our plans for upgrades in the meantime. So when we get to these intersections, which is just south or north of the highway, we're going to have to probably do some at least semi-major improvements to those intersections. And we'll have one bridge going over the Thalia Creek, which will also be connecting to future phases of the Thalia Creek Greenway, which, if you don't know, is a trail system in Town Center that's on the south side that we're under construction of phase 3 right now. And we have phase 4 and 5 concept plans design of where they're going to go. And then we also have even a future one that is a flyover to Mount Trashmore that would go over 264. That is, it's a request from a city council. That itself would be another $40 million, but it's something that, if we can get into a federal funding with the highway expansion one day in the future, we'd like to see that, with the Independence intersection. So, but yeah, so we have a lot of connectivity in this area going east. And then we have phase 3. I forgot to mention that cost estimate is around $20.5 to $23.5 million. This phase 3 is the same thing. And we're also seeking federal and state grants. And I'll mention what we're going to be looking at for this one on the next slide. This is from South Plaza to the London Bridge, which will connect us to phase 4, which I'll talk about in a second. There'll be one bridge over London Bridge Creek, which is, it goes into the Lynn Haven River on the north side, and on the south side, it's the West Neck Creek where it splits. You probably don't even notice it, but if you ever go to Lynn Haven Mall, but the creek splits on both sides and then it interconnects back together and it goes all the way down to Pungo to the Southern Water Rivershed. So we'll have to do a bridge over that as part of this project. the layover for some of the Dominion transmission construction stuff is laid out there right off, then just east of this. You can see right off the trail. This is probably the phase that we haven't really fully looked for funding yet for this phase. But this one's 2.3 miles. And in phase 4, hey, we got more funding. So, well, knock on wood, as we were told yesterday at ATS, right, Rob? 98% is what VDOT told us. 98% approved in Smart Scale. So last year, Katie Shannon and her team and myself, we said, hey, let's throw this project into Smart Scale. We did not commit any local funds, and we got funding. We were one of the projects picked based off the prioritization score for Smart Scale for phase 4 for VB Trail. And the reason why we put this in Smart Scale was, one, we wanted to see how it would score with the new prioritization scoring process that they put into place, because we knew they had changed it, and safety was one of the top priorities in it. And the VB Trail for us, literally, it provides a safe alternative that we do not have across the city. We also wanted to see how it could score. So let's see if when we do the next round, in round 7, if doing a local match will help with bump up our score. And then on top of that, as you can see, we don't have a very populated area on the south side of this part of the trail. We have Oceana, which basically bulks up the whole south side of this phase. So population demographic numbers, which are really what you look into when these prioritization scorings happen, we don't have the data. There's just nobody living there. There's employment, but so some of the data points are a little lower than some of our other phases. So we were very, very ecstatic that we got this through Smart Scale. And so probably in round 7, we're going to apply for phase 3 of Smart Scale based off how we did on phase 4. And this goes from London Bridge to Bird Neck to our existing trail on phase, which is the Norfolk Avenue. Like any of the other round 6 Smart Scale, design will probably start around 2031, 32, and we'll get a more detailed timeline of when construction is in place once we get approval. So it's pending CTV approval. I think the 20th of June is their board meeting. So please send them an email after this and thank them, not just for the funding of this project, but the other projects that are in this round across our region. We're very fortunate that we have basically the second biggest pot of funding in the state for Smart Scale. We're pretty ecstatic about that. So going forward, phase 5, which is what we say is our complete phase. So we have the Norfolk Avenue Trail, which is a linear part of the trail. It's the same Norfolk Southern right-of-way. And then, as I told you, the Pacific Avenue Boardwalk, we replaced the surface in 2022. And to put that in perspective, that was about $750,000 I have 2 CIP budgets in my department that I oversee, and one is for maintenance and repairs of trails, and $750,000 is 3 years of my funding. So we took 3 years of my funding to do 0.5 miles of boardwalk. But hopefully it'll last us 10, 15, 20 years. The wood will on there. It looks amazing and it's safe again. So, and then on top of it, I'll talk here in a second, is we have Winston-Salem Avenue, which is a road and stormwater project that is currently ongoing. And then I'm going to talk here in a second about Rudy Park, which if you don't know, you'll see in a second. So Winston-Salem Avenue improvements, it's an $18 million investment by the city. It's improving our marina district. So on Winston-Salem, where our marina is, there's a couple restaurants. It's to make it more walkable, pedestrian friendly. And it's also the last connection, not just to the VB Trail, the Southampton Roads Trail, the Beaches to Bluegrass Trail, and the Trans-America Trail. So this is literally like, we're getting to the end of all the conversations we have about our regional trail systems. This is where we're going to. This is where people want to get to. It also is going to improve stormwater and utilities along the corridor, and it's currently under construction. It's a 3-year phased project, clearly because it's our resort area. So they're doing it by phases during the winter, and they're just finishing up the first phase of that. As you can see, this is just a diagram of the whole Winston-Salem Avenue project. It goes from Pacific Avenue to Mediterranean on the west side. Where the two arrows are really where it's part of the VB Trails connectivity. The northern area is where we'd be coming off the boardwalk off Pacific Avenue. You'd cross at that intersection, and then on the south side, there'll be a new shared use path. What I'll show you in a second what it'll look like, and you'll be connecting back into Rudy Park that goes under the overpass. So this is what it currently looks like on Winston-Salem. As you can see, not very attractive, not very safe. People are walking literally next to the vehicles. Those are all basically entrances on the left side of that picture to the restaurants and the marina. So there's conflicts of egress on a constant basis there. There's parking on the north side. And this is what it's going to look like when the construction is done. So we'll have I think it's 12 feet is what I was told. And that's including, where the trees and lighting is. But it's a huge improvement. That's going to make it safer to bike and walk. And on the north side, it's going to be a sidewalk. So it just provides a gap that's currently just a 3-foot sidewalk to connect from the Pacific Avenue Trail back down to Rudy. It's a short distance, but this is a huge game changer for what it's going to look like, bringing value and tax base back into the city, but also making it safer to get people to and from the oceanfront and the Marina District. And then lastly, Rudy Park. Our department last month presented to City Council, and they presented again last night and had more discussions about it. It's right now the estimate is about $42 million for the actual park. I think we have about $50 million in our CIP budget for the project itself. This will be the new terminus and the ending of the VB Trail and all the other things that we just talked about. And as of right now, which is probably the coolest thing you can imagine is that the ending of the VB Trail is going to be on the jetty that goes out into the ocean. It's called the Jetty Walk. So think about how you can promote your trails literally ending in the Atlantic Ocean. So how rad is that? And at the Rudy Park, not just is it connecting the VB Trail, but it's also Atlantic Avenue, which is our main thoroughfare at the oceanfront, and probably the busiest trail in the state. No, I know it's the busiest trail in the state, the boardwalk and the bike lane. So all that is as part of intermingling in the design of this. My coworker, Jason Baines, is the project manager of it. And we have a phenomenal consultant team that is designing this. I'm going to show you some slides on that here. So this is just a zoomed out photo of what it's going to look like. As you can see, about last summer, we had 3 different versions of this, and we kind of integrated all of them in there. So not only do we have to worry about bike and ped, but we're also, people fish off that area. We want areas where people can socialize. We definitely want shade and not all asphalt. So we're trying to integrate all that. There's a picnic area, a water plaza, community lawn for events, and it'll connect into Gromit's Park there, Gromit's Island Park there. And then also here's another view. As you can see, the jetty walk going on out into the ocean. City Council is pretty excited about that. As you can see, the sunset lawn looking out on the inlet. And so all these things have to be integrated safely so that cyclists, walkers, skateboarders, and whatever's using this area to get in here and to and from. Atlantic Avenue, as you can see, goes north and south, and the boardwalk goes north and south. And then lastly, this is kind of what it's going to look like. As of right now, we're actually going to, the path is going to be painted for half for bike, and have a bike lane and then walking to kind of keep the users separated as they go into Rudy Park. And this is the underpass under the Rudy Inlet. If you've ever walked or biked it, it completely looks different. It's pretty neat because it's a lot of asphalt right now. And but this is a cool concept plan. As of right now, as of last night at City Council, Parks and Rec has to come back to City Council and provide some more answers on a lot of different things. We're also looking at an alternative with the parking structure as part of this project, which would add about $30 million. But if City Council is going to pay for it, we're for it. So, and then lastly, I'm going to show you a video. Here is the rendering of the video. Who plays this? Do I press play, Keith? Yeah, so we provided this, our consultants provided this YouTube video with our presentation last month on Rudy Park, and I wanted to share it just so you guys can see what it actually is going to look like visually. John, what about the link that I sent? Yeah, so I mean, this is just incredible. But yeah, not in my lifetime did I ever think, as you guys, most of you know, I was the regional trails planner. And when we have these conversations across all the localities, I worked at Chesapeake, and just to talk about, to be able to this is where we all want to end to. So when we're doing our grants on the peninsula, be like, hey, we want the funding to connect to this, and plus the many other amazing things that we have across our region. But this is just a concept rendering that our consultants put together to show City Council what it's really going to look like. So if you've been to Rudy Park and down there, it does not look like this in today's world. So it's a complete game changer, not just for a trail perspective, but for the city as a park. It's the last open space that we really have at the oceanfront. And the city opened up applications for consultants to apply, and our Parks and Rec departments, landscape architects, actually put together their own design. And overwhelmingly, the city council and the citizens chose my coworkers' design over some of the most national architect firms in the country. And then moving forward from that original design, they chose this. So pretty neat. We're pretty excited that all these things are kind of happening at the same time. Pavitra knows last year, not this past year, but 2024 at our city mayor's address, literally it started in the middle and it ended with the VB Trail, which was just mind blowing that we're talking about that. Then can you go to the last slide for me? And then Pavitra at 3:00 yesterday wanted me to talk, but I'll keep this short. But so at the city of Virginia Beach in our parks department, our marketing team has been working over the last few years to develop our Park Finder app. Last year we started including our trails, so that you can download this app on Android, Apple, and you can also, there's a web version. The right side is the web version, the left side is what it would screenshot what it would look like on the left side, but it has all our parks, it has our amenities, it has most of our trails. And I was telling Pavitra this morning that our goal is right now the trails are just dots, they're points. So long term, we want to actually get the lines in the system so that from point A to point B how to do that. So we're pretty excited that they're being included because people not just, and it'd be neat. Sarah's here. The Swimfish Play app was kind of like some of these ideas were stolen from that years ago, but people when tourists come here for our region, they want to know where they can do all these things, right? So this is just our way of showing that. So but that's it. Thank you for giving me your time.
Thank you, Steve. Anybody have any questions?
I didn't. Steve, thanks for pointing out the 3:00, but no, the reason I wanted Steve to come and talk about there's so much progress happening on BB Trail, and I know other localities are as well. So again, it's going to be a game changer for our region and all this is done. Super excited about it. And the reason I also wanted him to highlight the park app, I know Sarah Kidd is in the back. The Fish Swim Play app that we have talks about trails, hiking, marine waterways and stuff. But what we liked about the VB Trail app is it's simple. And one of the, like when you're someone coming into the region going, where do I go hike? And it was just easy to find. And one of the reasons I wanted it in there was to ask, do other localities have such apps? I know Sarah's looking to update the Fish Swim Play app. So if you guys have such apps or you're planning to, it might be, if you could please send us some information, and then Sarah and I could follow up so that we have the most updated information. We took a quick look. We found VB. We didn't find other apps per se, but if you have other resources your localities use, that would be helpful for us. We'd really love to hear from you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. All right, next presentation comes from VDOT. Rick Correa will be talking about the major projects we've got going on in the region.
Keith,
Yeah, go ahead.
Rick makes his way up there. Just want to introduce Rick Correa. He's our Hampton Roads District Major Projects Director. Thanks to our TTAC, our funding partner. As you guys are aware, we have a lot of regionally significant transportation projects going on in the region right now. So in various stages of development and delivery. And I know we provide updates in the agenda, but in talking to Pavitra and John, thought it was a good idea to have VDOT come out and provide a presentation, since we do have a lot of projects, and it's been a while since we've had a presentation to this group. So with that, Rick.
All right, thank you, Todd.
Thank you,
Rick,
Todd.
What?
Not yet.
No,
Right
yep.
presentation.
That's not. Yeah, well, I could try to wing this, but it won't be good.
Yeah, start small, get there.
Well, that's being loaded. I could say that, as Todd mentioned, that a lot of what I'm going to be presenting here is funded by our HRTAC funding partner. So you guys have probably heard a lot about what I'm going to present, but what I want to do is kind of package it up and give you a high-level overview of all the things that the major projects group in the Hampton Roads District of VDOT is responsible for. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. I feel like y'all have been icing the presenter here. Get me even more nervous. So I'm Rick Correa. I'm the Director of Major Projects. And what I want to present to you is what's shown on this map here. So under the Major Projects group in the Hampton Roads District, I've got a staff of about 24 professionals. They're design project managers, there's their area construction engineers, we got admin people, we got project controls. And we're responsible for the development and delivery of all the the projects that are classified as major projects. And we take, within our group, we take these projects from the programming phase all the way through construction closeout. So it's kind of a one-stop shop where we do cradle to grave management of a project that's considered a major project. So a major project is typically will meet one of the following criteria. It's either a large project or it's a project that's complex in design and construction. It could have intricate stakeholder coordination, and then all the projects that have HRTAC funding automatically are classified as major projects as far as VDOT is concerned, and we develop them and deliver them under the major projects group. So since 2015, there have been 25 major projects in the Hampton Roads District, and 80% or 20 of those 25 projects are projects that have HR TAC funding on them. So the table on the bottom of the slide shows where we are with each of those projects. We have 8 projects that have been completed already. Construction, we have 6 projects that are currently under construction, which you've probably seen around especially along the 64 corridor. We have 8 projects that are currently in design and 3 projects that are in the study phase where we're doing IARs, interchange access report studies for those. And the numbers there show the magnitude of what we're dealing with in our major projects program. The total cost is almost $11 billion. And I should say that under the projects under construction, the second line on that table, we are including the HRBT expansion project, which is $3.9 million. And although, I mean, it is a Hampton Roads District project, but it's not actually managed under my group, the major projects group, but it is a 6th project that's under construction. It's classified as a major project. So it seems like this map is probably very difficult to see, but what I did here is I showed all the projects in all the different phases. So the black projects with the check marks are these 8 projects that are completed. And that includes the 3 Peninsula 64 widening projects. And then we've got the phase 1 and phase 2 of the 264 interchange. Those 2 projects are completed. And we've completed the high-rise bridge project. We've completed the HREL segment 2B project. And we did a grid deck replacement on the old or existing high-rise bridge. And I think I covered all of those. I may have missed one, but the orange projects are the projects that are under construction right now, starting with the Gap C on the top, the 64 widening Gap C project. Then we've got the HREL, which is the Hampton Roads Express Lane Network project, 4A, 4B, and then adjacent to that one, the 4C project. On the other on the side of the water, we've got the 1A, HRL 1A project. And down at the bottom here, we've got a project that's improving the one of the ramp movements on the 64, 464 interchange. We've got 8 projects that are under design. Those are shown in the blue with some engineering icon on there. And those include the Denby Boulevard projects, two projects to build an interchange up there. We've got the HRL segment 3 project under design. We've got 2 air terminal interchanges under design. The HRL segment 1B project still under design. And then we've got, what am I missing here? The 464, we've got a project that's just about to start in the design phase, and we call it the Phase A project. And then we've got the 3 green projects, or 3 IAR projects, or 3 projects under the study where we're doing the IAR. So I'm going to go and on most of my presentation is just going to go through and show a slide for each of these 25 projects and just give you a brief some brief information about each of those projects. But before I do that, I want to show that in the past 5 years, the main focus of the major projects group has been on delivering the Hampton Roads Express Lane network. And this is a network of a 45-mile long network where we're building express lanes all the way from along 64, starting from Bowers Hill, the Bowers Hill interchange, all the way up through Newport News to right around the Denby Boulevard overpass. So the toll system that we're implementing on here is a dynamic system which manages traffic volumes for congestion relief. And then there's showing 7 projects there. There's actually 8 boxes. One of them is just pointing to the reversible lanes, which is part of the network, the existing reversible lanes that go from 564 to 264. But then the 7 projects, each of those 7 projects correspond to a segment, the 7 segments of the HREL network. So now what I'm going to do is just roll through a series of slides showing you each of those 25 projects, starting with the projects that are already completed. And starting all the way on the peninsula, the first project that was delivered under the major projects and the first project that had TTAC funding on it was this I-64 Peninsula Widening Segment 1. And that project went from Jefferson Avenue to Yorktown Road. It's the first of 3 projects that were widening the Interstate 64 from 4 lanes to 6 lanes, or 2 lanes in each direction to 3 lanes in each direction. So that 22-mile segment was divided into 3 projects, this being the first. The first one was about 6 miles, second was about 7 miles, and the third one was about 8 miles. Just not sure how that worked out, but it was pretty cool. So this one was completed in 2017, first project that was completed under the Major Projects Program, $112 million. And then here's segment 2, which picked up where the first project left off at Yorktown Road, all the way to Hummelstein Parkway. And that was finished in 2019, $160 million. The third segment was completed in 2021 with a total cost of $244 million. This one also included the replacement of the Queens Creek bridges, which are shown in the photograph here. So moving on to the, to the 264-64 interchange. Many of you remember the construction of these 2 projects. The first one we called Phase 1, and it widened 64 westbound from the Twin Bridges all the way to the interchange on the eastbound direction, or the westbound direction, to accommodate a second exit, second lane on the exit ramp there. As most of you could remember, that was a terrible backup there whenever you wanted to go from Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, and you were coming up and wanted to make that movement to 264 eastbound. It would back up all the way sometimes past Indian River Road. Well, we added a second exit lane there. And the cool thing is that as those 2 lanes advance towards the intersection, they split up, and you have 2 lanes that are on the left bridge there. That was part of the project. And they land on what we're calling the inner CD lanes, the collector distributor lanes. So they have a more direct access straight to the general purpose lanes. And then one of the lanes on the ramp to the right lands on a second CD lane, second CD roadway, which allows for the connection to and from the Newtown Road ramps. So this project was a project that offered tremendous value to improvement of that interchange movement. It was completed in 2020 with a total cost of $159 million. And then the sister project of that, we called it the Phase 2 project. It continued the new CD roadway that we built all the way to Witch Duck Road, providing better access to all the eastbound, I-264 eastbound ramps to Newtown Road and Witch Duck. So it also added this overpass that you see in this photo, which connects the Greenwich Road, which is south of the 264 interstate, to Cleveland Street on the north side of the interstate. So it provides kind of continuity of Cleveland Road all the way to Newtown Road. This project was completed in 2022 and $195 million. And then this was the biggest project we've delivered so far, cost of $525 million. The I-64 widening on the south side and the high-rise bridge project. So it was completed in 2024. It widened the 9-mile corridor from Bowers Hill all the way to the 464 interchange from 2 lanes in each direction to 3 lanes in each direction, with the third lane being a new express lane, which is a high occupancy toll lane. So we built a new high-rise bridge south of the existing high-rise bridge to accommodate all traffic on I-64 westbound, which is, this location is actually heading eastbound, Cardinal East. And then the 3 lanes of the westbound interstate traffic is currently using the existing high-rise bridge until in the future, at some time, we may be replacing that existing bridge with a bridge that's kind of a twin of this one. But you got eastbound traffic on the old bridge and the 3 lanes of westbound traffic on the new bridge. So. I should say that with the completion of this project and the adjacent project, which I'll talk through in a couple of slides, the HRL 2B project, this was the first that opened up the first about 14 miles of the Hampton Roads Express Lane network, which is currently operating. It's been operating now for about 14 months with the tolling system operating. So here's the HRL segment 2B. As I mentioned, this was adjacent to the high-rise bridge project. It goes from the 464 interchange all the way up to the 264 interchange. What we did here was simply repurpose the existing HOV lanes and converted them into high occupancy toll lanes to continue the progression of the Hampton Roads Express Lane network. So this shows a snapshot just before, I think this is just before or just after the twin bridges, where we have an ingress egress point there on the westbound direction. Uh-oh. That didn't work. Okay. And then you see here the buffer strip on the eastbound direction that shows how we're separating the general purpose lanes from the express lanes. And this is going to be typical of all the express lane network projects that we build. They'll have a flex post delineator separating the general purpose lanes from the express lane network. And throughout the entire 45-mile long network, there's always going to be a free option. We're implementing these express lanes, but there's always going to be the general purpose lanes that are free of charge. This was the grid deck replacement project that was done concurrently with the high-rise bridge project. Towards the end of the high-rise bridge project, that grid deck was in pretty bad shape, so we took advantage of sharing some MOT with the design builder of the high-rise bridge, and we got that grid deck replaced. And it was completed in 2023, $6 million bridge deck replacements. Kind of a small project, but because, like I said, it had a lot of complexities. The biggest one being that we were building it in the middle of an ongoing construction project, the high-rise bridge project. Now I'm going to go into the projects that are under construction currently, starting on the Newport News side. There was the HRL segment 4A, 4B. This project has taken the existing HOV lanes, kind of like the 2B project that I just showed you, and converting those into hot express lanes. So the top typical section up there shows how we're going to do that. There's typically four lanes in each direction. That's on that segment from Denby Boulevard all the way to 664. So we're just repurposing that existing HOV lane and converting it into HOT lanes. A lot of sign work involved in that project, and that's currently it's been ongoing since about a year and a half now. Scheduled to be completed in May 2027. By the way, all 6 of our projects that are under construction right now, they are all scheduled to be completed before the end of 2027. So from 664 over to LaSalle Avenue towards the end of the project, about the last 3 miles of the project. After the HOV lanes end, what we're doing there is we're gonna add a lane, we're widening to add a lane to accommodate the express lane, one express lane in each direction, along with the 3 general purpose lanes in each direction. Also under construction right now is the HRL Segment 4C project. And this project is gonna repurpose or convert the 3 existing lanes in each direction over 2.5 miles of 64 from 3 general purpose lanes in each direction to 2 general purpose lanes and 2 express lanes in each direction. And this is so we're transitioning now at this area into 2 express lanes in each direction to match what we're building on the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel Expansion Project, which will also have 2 express lanes and 2 general purpose lanes in each direction. So this includes one of the centerpieces of this project is the replacement of the eastbound Hampton River Bridge, and we widened the westbound Hampton River Bridge. That widening was recently completed, and now we're working to shift all traffic onto that new westbound bridge. We'll demolish the old eastbound bridges and build new bridges in the footprint. So this construction is scheduled to be completed in 2026 with a $408 million price tag. So keep moving on the other side of the water, we got the HRL Segment 1A project. What this project does is it converts 2 miles of inside shoulders. We're repurposing the inside shoulders on this stretch to convert them into express lanes. So at the end of the project, we'll have 3 general purpose lanes in each direction and 1 part-time shoulder express lane in each direction. And this also is the transition from this section with the 3 lanes and the 1 express lane to the HRBT section that's gonna be, like I said, 2 express lanes and 2 general purpose lanes in each direction. This project goes from Patrol Road to Tidewater Drive. It's scheduled to be completed in about a year from now, April 2026, $198 million. This project is under construction also. It's an improvement to the exit 291 ramp. And what this project is going to do, right now we have, I wish this pointer would work, but that's not doing what it's supposed to do. But what it's doing now, right now we have a clover leaf that if you're heading 64 on 64 eastbound, which is actually going westbound at this area, and you want to go down to Route 168 in Chesapeake, the Chesapeake Expressway, or to Dominion Boulevard in Chesapeake, southbound, you've got to take that loop ramp, that cloverleaf ramp, and head to that direction. So that with the adjacent cloverleaf is causing, if any of you guys drive down through there, it causes a major backup there, especially in rush hour in the mornings and the afternoons. So what we're doing is splitting that traffic. So if we're building a new directional ramp that will take all the traffic that's going to the Chesapeake Expressway, you'll take this new ramp that includes a little flyover bridge, and you'll be connected directly to the Route 168 Chesapeake Expressway. If you want to go to Dominion Boulevard, Route 17, you would still use the old cloverleaf. So by splitting that traffic up, we expect that to provide a great improvement in traffic operation in this area. This project will be completed in August 2027, $155 million. So the last of the 6 projects here is the I-64 Gap C project. As you guys probably know, that I-64 has been systematically being increased from 4 lanes to 6 lanes. And there's a 30-mile gap right around the border of the Richmond District and Hampton Roads District that hasn't been widened to 6 lanes yet. So there's 3 projects that are filling in that gap, each of them about 10 miles long. And this is the Gap C project, which happens to be in our district. The other 2 projects, A and B, are in the Richmond District. And this project, because it's all under one program, the 3 projects under one program, this is actually being managed by the Richmond District for the Hampton Roads District. So this project basically just adds another lane of traffic in each direction, just like the segments 1, 2, and 3 projects that I mentioned earlier. And it's going to be completed in November of 2027, $228 million. So now we're going to go into the 8 projects that are under design. And this project is going to widen I-64 from Northampton. That interchange up at the top is Northampton Boulevard. So we're widening to the outside. We're adding one more lane for that exit ramp to 264. And then if you're going to 264 eastbound, that flyover ramp that exists now is only 1 lane. We're going to demolish that and we're going to build a 2-lane ramp over flyover ramp that'll connect to 264 eastbound. This project also has a segment of the HRL network. We're from Newtown Road all the way down to the Twin Bridges. We'll be building the part-time shoulder express lane on the inside shoulder of the eastbound I-64 as part of the network construction. So these 2 projects, this is a brand new diamond interchange that we're building at the Denby Boulevard overpass bridge that was recently completed. So we're converting that into a diamond interchange. We split it up into 2 projects. The phase 1 project takes care of the westbound ramps, and then the eastbound ramps will be done under the phase 2 project. So I've got the construction start dates here. These projects are the first phase of the project is the construction will start in 2025 in November. The other one is a ways off and it'll start in 2030. And those are the costs of those 2 projects shown there. So four of these 8 projects that I'm showing you that are in the design phase will go to the construction phase by the end of this year. So as I mentioned earlier, the 6 projects under construction will all be done by 2027, but we got 4 of these projects that are already teed up to go to construction by the end of this year. This is an air terminal interchange. These are 2 interchanges that are being built on the intermodal connector that was built a few years ago to provide better access and connectivity to and from the naval station facilities, the gates, some of the residential areas of the Navy base and Hampton Boulevard. So we've divided this. We've got a western interchange and an eastern interchange. The construction start of the western is one of those that I just mentioned is going to start in October of this year. And the other one, doesn't have it's not fully funded yet, so we're still got that up in the air when that was going to go to construction. So there's the project cost, $24 and $109 million, respectively. This is the HRL Segment 3 project, and what this project does is it adds the tolling infrastructure for along the footprint of the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel expansion project. So that project didn't include, when it was executed in 2018, didn't include infrastructure for the operation of a toll lane. So this project simply adds the tolling infrastructure to provide the tolling infrastructure for our HRL network along this 8.2 mile corridor. This is the $19 million project, and it's going to start this December 2025. It's going to go to construction in 2025. And this is the 1B project, the last project that is part of the HRL network. And it will go to construction, I said by the end of the year, but it's January, notice to proceed is January 2026. So it'll convert 7 miles from Tidewater Drive all the way south of the 264 interchange. It's going to repurpose the lanes now to convert to add a part-time shoulder express lane on the inside. And the reason that's a part-time express lane is this is right in the footprint or right adjacent to the existing reversible lanes. So what's going to happen with this project is we're providing an express lane in the opposite direction of the operation of the reversible lanes. That way we provide continuity of our network in both directions at all times. So when say the reversible lanes are heading towards, the traffic is heading towards the Navy base to 564, we'll have the eastbound PTSL open to have continuity of the express lanes in each direction. It's a $425 million project. It's in procurement right now, and it'll start in January. Construction will start in January. And the last project in the design phase is a project that came out of the 464 interchange IAR study. We're calling it the Phase A Improvement Project for the 464 interchange. And what this is going to do, and I'm sure Chesapeake is going to be very happy about this, is it's going to finally improve the movement from northbound 168 to I-64 westbound, which is actually going eastbound at this area. So this, right now, there's a one-lane ramp that connects to 64. So everything bottlenecks from 3 lanes all the way down to 1 lane before you get to 64. So what we're going to do is we're going to widen that ramp to be 3 lanes all the way to 64. And the nice thing about this is there's a CD roadway now that exists. And we're going to split the traffic. So the two lanes of traffic on the left side will have a direct connection to I-64 westbound. And then if you stay on the right, one of the 3 lanes will land on the existing CD roadway. So this is going to provide tremendous relief to that movement that's been a problem for decades. This project, we're just starting in the design phase. The construction is scheduled to start around July of 2028. So just in its initial stages of design, and it costs about $139 million. Finally here, these are our 3 projects in the planning phase. We're doing IARs for each of these projects, and as part of the IARs, what we do, these interchange IARs, is we do a phasing study, a construction phasing study, because some of these projects, if you were to build the entire interchange, would cost upwards of $1 billion maybe. So what we do is we study and figure out how we can subdivide this project into sub-projects. And as I said earlier on the previous slide, the I-64, 464 interchange, we defined 3 sub-projects, and one of them, the Phase A project, which I just talked about, is already advancing through the design phase. So we expect when all 3 of these studies are completed by the end of this year, they'll probably identify about 8 sub-projects that'll be teed up to go to the design phase. I should note here that the 464 interchange, the $200 million project budget, is actually, it originally was a $339 million. But as I showed you on this slide here, this is $139 million. We've already kind of partitioned that away. And so then we have $200 million remaining for the other 2 sub-projects that are coming out of this interchange. So that's a very quick, brief snapshot of what we got going on in the Hampton Roads District major projects. So now we know that the command center of everything that's going on related to major projects in the Hampton Roads District. And you got a person to point the finger at and complain to about anything that you see going on these interstate projects. So with that, I'll open it up to questions if anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Rick. Anybody have any questions? A lot of good information there.
I have a question. Hello, I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay. So as far as these projects go, from Chesapeake, what you were discussing the new flyover from the expressway, when you guys are doing these projects with your budgeting, do you include signage, like the highway signage, as part of the budget for these projects?
Yeah.
Because that's just a big corridor for tourists going to the Outer Banks.
Yes, it includes, is all inclusive. So when these projects are completed in construction, they're ready to operate as intended. Yeah, and some of these projects are heavy on the signage with all the tolling signs. Some of them have lane use control signs, directional signs. So it's as when all this network is completed, the HREL network is completed in this project, you're going to notice a lot more density of signage along the 64 corridor.
Just a quick comment. I just wanted to thank Rick and VDOT staff. I know it's a tremendous lift for all of these projects that are going on, and I know that they've been really nice in inviting the TPO staff to be a part of them. So we've been involved with a lot of these from the development stages all the way up until construction. So it's been a really good experience and opportunity for us to participate. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. And that's a good point. It's very important, especially the projects in the study phase. We need all the stakeholder involvement we can get to make sure that we kick off in the right direction with projects that are in the planning phase. And we just had a meeting a day or two ago where on one of these IR projects that Sam was attending.
Rick,
Yes,
I
sir.
just want to say, really enjoyed it, and particularly the pictures, really good. Some views I've never seen, really good.
Okay, appreciate that.
Anything
Okay.
else?
Well, I'll be
Thank you, Rick.
around. If
Appreciate it.
anybody has any other questions, want to grab me later after the meeting.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, next up, we got Dr. Case with the microtransit update.
Okay, I'm going to talk to you today about microtransit. We were asked by WADA to do some research for them. They were considering microtransit. We had it in our UPWP. They were interested in the feasibility and acceptability of it and had some specific questions. So let's see what we found. First, a definition, a technology-enabled service to provide on-demand services, that's key, on-demand, dynamically generated, so not fixed route, traditionally serve a designated service area. So you can see at the bottom, you use your phone, then it's sort of like Uber, I guess, in that, figures it out, you get picked up, but you sometimes share rides and then dropped off. So we looked at Virginia agencies that have implemented microtransit, HRT primarily, but also CATS in Charlottesville and Richmond, and then Northern Virginia and West Point. Those are the ones that have done this. Now we really, in all honesty, only looked into the HRT experience. So today I'm going to do it in two pieces, HRT's experience and then the cost that I pulled out of the National Transit Database. I'll tell you what that is. So first, fortunately, HRT did a post study and of their first implementation. As you may know, they've started back another one now. But this was their first one, and this was published in June of 2023. So it was a grant from DRPT, and it ran for a few months. I think it's about 7 months. And now it's what they call a corner-to-corner model, in that you're not necessarily picked up at your house and dropped at your place of business, but you're picked up and dropped off nearby where you're coming and going from. And then the zones we'll see are about 20 square miles each. The cost per trip was $70, not insignificant, versus a fare of only $2. So got a lot of stars and about 30,000 trips in those months. So here are the two zones, Newport News on the left, Virginia Beach on the right. And it can be sort of hard to see, but they've overlaid it with the bus routes, which continued to operate, the fixed routes. And so you can see Newport News, the zone was sort of half served by both microtransit and the fixed route. And then Virginia Beach, not as dense, but several bus routes that traverse the area. Okay, fortunately, they got the O and Ds, and that's what's shown here for Newport News. And you can see that, interestingly enough, most of the O's and D's are all along those fixed route corridors. And that speaks to a couple of things, but one thing it speaks to is that because of HRT's designs and the land use, that's where the trips tend to be. Okay, so then Virginia Beach, same story. Most of the trips on this new service were actually along the existing service fixed routes. Okay, let's look at the National Transit Database. First, what is it? Well, it was required by Congress in '74, before Steve was born. And and then it's done by FTA, and all the transit agencies have to send in their data. And it's a pretty neat thing. It supports planning, of course. And I do want to note, though, that microtransit is not a term that's yet in the database. So I had to sort of figure it out using a larger category, which is demand response, as we'll see. So speaking of that, what are the costs of your 10 or 11 modes? Demand response is the most expensive, not surprisingly. We're familiar with that because we're familiar with the ADA services, the handy ride services are very expensive. And so that's on a nationwide basis, about $45 a trip. And then on down to, interestingly enough, BRT being the cheapest to operate. Okay. Now, types of demand response. Well, I broke it into ADA, not ADA, hybrid, and unknown. And these are my categories. I had to do this. So I used the data to tell me whether it was in the ADA, which category it was in. Hybrid being some agencies run basically the same service to cover both ADA and microtransit. So if you're ADA qualified, then it's done that way. And then if you're not, you can also use the same vehicles. That's what I'm calling hybrid. Okay, then let's look at it. This is nationwide, but service area population is less than 1 million, which is what HRT's is, and WADA's. So about half of them are hybrid, about a quarter of them are ADA only, and then less than a quarter are microtransit. So this has been done around the country. So let's look at the cost when you break it down those 4 ways. Average is about $45, but the least expensive of these actually is the microtransit, which I assumed that the not ADA was microtransit. So at about $33 a trip nationwide. Okay, then broke it down further into what I'm calling business models. So how did they operate this service? Well, these are their terms, sometimes directly operated by the transit agency. What they call a TNC, or a transportation network company, which is what Uber is. And then they subsidize that, or a taxi and they subsidize that, or other. So let's see how it breaks down between there. About half of them are directly operated. The other half are purchased. A few, just 5, TNC nationwide, and 19 taxi. But those are important because the TNC subsidized was the least expensive. of those 4 ways to operate transit, microtransit. So, then let's talk about wheelchairs a little bit. For the TNC subsidized, Uber has a thing they call Wave. It's not available here, but I assume that it would be if they knew that they were going to get a significant amount of subsidy. And then in conclusion, we presented this last year to WADA. They seemed satisfied with it. And as I mentioned before, HRT resumed microtransit, I think in one of the areas only, one of the 2 areas only. Does anybody know which one it is? I'm sorry. Newport News. So it's only in Newport News now, not both Newport News and Virginia Beach. So that's me. Are there any questions?
I had a quick question, Rob.
Yes.
So as you showed in a couple of the maps, all of the O and Ds were primarily along those
Mhm.
fixed routes. Now, was there any indication of why that was? Possibly more of a timing issue, buses were not available, frequency, that kind of thing, or it didn't really get into that?
Well, I think it's a more convenient service, and that's why people were using it. It's roughly the same cost. And that's where the action is. You know, that's where the apartment buildings are. That's where the businesses are. And so, you know, our land use is not perfect, but there is a lot of concentration along our major arterials.
Makes sense. Thanks.
Anything else?
All right, thank you, Rob. Appreciate it. All right, our last presentation is going to be from Sam and Keith.
All right, today we're going to be presenting the results of our regional freight study update. As you all are familiar with, freight is a big component of this region. So much so that we have a freight technical advisory committee that advises our board on a regular basis, and we actually have a meeting tomorrow at the port to talk about freight. And they've been updated as a part of this process, as a part of our freight study. The regional freight study is the most comprehensive resource document that we produce as a TPO on freight. We've been doing these freight studies for the last 20 years or so, with the last update that we did back in 2017. It is a very comprehensive document. It's about 200 pages long. It's very lengthy, but it's very comprehensive, and it talks about everything about freight in terms of trucks, the port data, you name it. It's included in there. In terms of freight facilities in the region, we did a little bit different this time. We typically produce static maps within the report that showcase what freight facilities we have throughout the region. But this time we did a little bit different. We took all the maps and we created an interactive map, and we've come before you in the past and presented that document. This interactive map is available. There's a link that's provided on the presentation today, as well as links that are provided within the draft report that's included in the packet. As part of this study, we have a comprehensive look at freight trends throughout the region. Most importantly, we look at the trends that are occurring at the Port of Virginia. As you all know, the Port of Virginia is a very important port to the Virginia, but also the East Coast. We're currently ranked 3rd in the East Coast among all containerized cargo, behind the Port of New York, New Jersey, and Savannah. Shout out to Chris and his staff and Barb. They gave us, the entire staff, a tour of the VIG facilities. It was an astonishing thing to see firsthand where the cranes were lifting off containers off of the container ships, putting them on trucks, putting them on rail, and it's just, we know that it's an integral part of this region. Truck parking is a tremendous challenge that we have here in our region in Hampton Roads. There are shortages not only in Hampton Roads, but also throughout the state and the nation. And as part of this study, we discussed those challenges. As part of this study, VDOT graciously provides us with a comprehensive commodity flow data set that we're able to produce maps such as these. The next series of maps that I'll show you kind of showcase what the truck movements look like both in 2017 and then as we approach the forecasted to 2045. So looking at 2045, you can see a tremendous amount of growth that is expected to occur, not only along 64 for our region, but and 58, but also along I-95 and 81 for the state of Virginia. Doing a similar set of analysis, we are able to use this data to compute the number of trucks to see what that data set looks like for the year 2017 and also for the year 2045. We also take this data, we use it as a part of applications. Sometimes we'll pull out different segments for gateways. So this is a very important data set for our TPO as well as the region. Moving on, just try to get through this quickly. I know we've been through a lot of presentations today. We're also able to pull out specifically for regional gateways, and this shows the number of trucks that are expected to exist not only today but into the future. In 64, we can see that we're expecting volumes to nearly triple by the year 2045, which is exciting but also a little bit scary. Trucks along 58 as well as 13 and 460 is also expected to see tremendous growth as we head into the future. We also took a look at a similar data set for the net annual dollars for the year 2017 as well as the year 2045, just to see how that played out. Again, most of the movement, or a majority of the movement throughout the state is occurring between the DC and the Richmond area. But you can also see that there's a tremendous growth that it's occurring along 81. Virginia is a major through route, and a lot of these maps kind of showcase that. With that, I'll pass it on to Keith to wrap up the second half.
Great, thank you, Sam. Most of the stuff I'll be discussing today involves a section of our freight study where we look at regional truck movement. You can see there's a wide variety of topics. We were able to take the data we have in our region and drill in a little more detail in terms of where trucks are traveling in our region, what might some of their bottlenecks be, congestion costs, things like that. So I'll go over a few of these here over the next few slides. Sam did mention a little bit about gateways, but we did drill a little bit deeper into the data. We look at the top 10 gateways to our region in terms of the number of trucks that go in and out of our region each day. When you look at the data from the year 2023, it's over 20,000 trucks that go in and out of our region each day. So it's definitely a really high number. You can see the chart on the left. It's been largely increasing through the years, and especially in 2021 and 2022, post-pandemic, you can see the big bump in the number of trucks going in and out of our region, bringing the goods in and out of Hampton Roads and to and from the port. Did see a decrease in 2023, and that's largely due to what we were seeing at the port in 2023. Not only a slight decrease in the amount of cargo they handled, but there was also a shift that year, in particular from truck to rail. So almost 40% of freight that year was carried by rail. So we did notice in the gateway data that we were seeing the same thing, that the number of trucks going in and out of our region was definitely down from the previous 2 years. When you look at the primary gateways, no surprise, I-64 is the most heavily used gateway by trucks in our region. It's about 7,000 trucks on any given weekday use 64 to get in and out of our region. If you look at 58 and 460, they're also highly traveled. It's really interesting to see you see on here 2014 and 2023, and they look kind of similar, but in the intermediate years, we were seeing a shift from 64 towards 58 and 460. And if you look right around 2019, right before the pandemic, 58 and 460 combined were carrying quite a few more trucks in and out of our region each day than 64 was. However, in that 2023 data, we saw the shift right back. So 64 reclaiming its share. So it'd be interesting to see in the more recent data, and also as these construction projects continue, not only at the HRBT, but also the gap, how that'll impact these volumes moving forward. We also looked at the truck crossings of the Hampton Roads Harbor. It's about 10,000 trucks that go across the Hampton Roads Harbor each weekday in our region. What I don't think is particularly common knowledge, though, is just how many of them are actually using the Monitor Merrimack. It's about 6,000 trucks per day use the Monitor Merrimack, so almost twice as many trucks use the Monitor Merrimack as the HRBT. So thought I'd share that. That's definitely something I don't think is particularly well known. I mean, we are seeing big increases, about a 20% increase in the number of trucks crossing the harbor versus the previous decade. For the sake of time, I won't go into too much detail on this, but we did look at truck volumes wherever we could get data throughout our region. There's about 500 locations throughout Hampton Roads where VDOT collects what's called vehicle classification data. So they have it broken down by the 15 FHWA classes, and we can determine what are trucks based on that. So we included this information in the report. If you look at the appendix, we have it for all 500 locations, so you can see it for your particular location. We will, this data is also available on the interactive map, and we'll add the updated data to that interactive map as we get through the study here. One of the most important things we did as part of the study, though, is to look at freight bottlenecks and classify those throughout the region. Based on discussions with the FTAC, we thought it made the most sense to look at two different measures to determine what freight bottlenecks are. The first one is the average truck delay on a per mile basis. So that's really the delay that's experienced by each individual truck. So it reflects the impact of these congestion levels and delays on their individual costs and competitiveness. We also looked at it at a total truck delay per mile. So that's kind of looking at the network view. So when you talk about making improvements, maybe the locations where you can make the improvements can give you the most bang for the buck on these total truck delay per mile measures. So we included the maps in the report for both average truck delay per mile as well as the total truck delay. If you look at the average truck delay on the peninsula, these are for the PM peak periods. No surprise, Monitor Merrimack, HRBT are the two highest, but we also did see some higher truck delays, particularly along the Route 17 corridor in Newport News and York County. Also along portions of Jefferson Avenue, we saw some of the higher average truck delays there. South side definitely saw higher average truck delays. No surprise on some of these locations, particularly around the downtown tunnel, Hampton Boulevard corridor, areas like that. No big surprises. Total truck delay, kind of same thing that you see with the average truck delay, but it's more pronounced in certain areas. You can see here, especially at the HRBT and Monitor Merrimack, how high the total delays are there for trucks. I guess that's not a surprise. On the south side, a couple things did jump out at us that I thought were interesting. If you look particularly in Suffolk at the Route 58 and Route 460 corridors, when you look at these total truck delays, they do jump out, particularly as you go from Windsor east toward the Suffolk bypass. That corridor shows some high total truck delay values. The Holland Road corridor, Route 58, Suffolk bypass, we saw that jump out as well. And then also, once again, no surprise, Hampton Boulevard jumped to the top of the list when you're looking at total truck delays on the south side. One thing we want to do as part of the study is we wanted to look at some of these high profile corridors in a little more detail and also monetize some of these delays to see what this is costing the trucking industry in our region. So we produced a number of high profile corridors that you can see here and combined some of the segments that you saw from the previous maps. No surprise when you look at these high profile corridors, HRBT has the highest amount of delay in the region for trucks. If you look at an average weekday or an annual weekday total truck delay, it's about 74,000 truck hours. When you monetize that based on numbers or figures provided by ATRI, we come to almost $7 million that the trucking industry is losing just based on delay at the HRBT over the course of a year. Number two is High Rise Bridge, Southside I-64 Southside corridor. This data is from 2023, so the work zone was ongoing at that time. So I'm pretty sure if we look at the 2025 data, that corridor will drop down the list, thankfully, with much lower delays. Once again, surprising to me, number 3, when you look at these high-profile corridors, was Route 58 in Suffolk. So you might not think of that when you compare it to the HRBTs and Monitor Merrimacs of the world, but when you look at the number of trucks that use that corridor and the amount of delay they experience, it does jump toward the top of the list. So hopefully the widening project that's nearly complete in that part of Suffolk will help lower that as well. But it was interesting to see how high that ranked. In the study, we also drilled down into some of these gateways, and in particular, some of the potential future highway improvements in these areas. As you know, 64, the gap is fully funded and under construction, so that's definitely a huge improvement from the last time we looked at this in the last regional freight study. So by 2028, early 2028, that gap should be fully complete between here and Richmond. We drill into I-87 and everything that's going into that and lack thereof in certain places. And talk about the funding needs and the current funding availability, which isn't much, not just in the North Carolina section, but also Virginia as well. Also talk about Route 58 and some of the improvements there. They're largely small scale, nothing humongous like, new freeways or anything like that, but we drilled down into that a little bit. And also US 13, there has been some conversation regarding that corridor, both in Virginia and in North Carolina, in terms of the benefits of improving that corridor between here and the Raleigh region. Last thing I wanted to mention before I wrapped up, we did produce a map here that I'm showing that combines a lot of the data that I just showed you into kind of one picture in terms of freight in our region. So it talks about these freight gateways and how important they are, where the truck bottlenecks are, and the amount of delay you see there. But we also wanted to overlay it with some of the freight employer data, for example. So where are the largest freight employers, whether it's manufacturing or distribution, warehousing, things like that. We pulled that data and included it and showed those locations. And also wanted to look at the future. So some of the major freight development sites in our region. So when you think of the Port 460s of the world, or the Williams Tract, or any of those locations, we wanted to overlay those on the map as well to show how they relate compared to the bottlenecks, the gateways, and things like that. So that is something that we've included in the past and included and updated in this version of the study. So in terms of the draft report, it was included with today's agenda. The link is also provided here in the presentation. There is no executive summary in the draft. We are working on that, and we'll include it in the final. In terms of the public review period, we will be discussing the report with the FTAC at the meeting tomorrow. We have been working with the FTAC throughout the process of the report. Now that we have a draft, we're having further discussion with them tomorrow. So as we incorporate their comments after the meeting tomorrow, we will open it up for public review. We'll send out an email to the TTAC when this happens, and then let you know when the date of comments will be due. Because of our HRTPO board meeting schedule, we have a meeting in July that we won't be able to make, but the next meeting after that isn't until October. So we are aiming for October for their approval. So we'll probably be back to the TTAC here, probably September, maybe October, to ask for approval from this committee to go to the TPO board. Last thing I did want to mention about this, though, a lot of the data you saw today is feeding directly into the project prioritization process. So all that truck delay information, truck volumes, things like that, those do go into the candidate project analysis. So everything you saw today, we're feeding into Dale's process, and will help score projects with that. So with that, Sam and I'd be happy to take any questions you might have about the regional freight study.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any questions?
I just want to offer thanks and appreciation to Keith and Sam for all the time and staff that they put into this report. It's definitely something that I can speak on behalf of the board, and also members of the FTAC appreciate having this study. It is a tool that we are leveraging as we're out there both talking to municipalities and talking about future land use. And then subsequently, talking to those developers such as the Port 460s of the world. And as they look to make those investments to capitalize on the growth of the port, this is the type of information along freight corridors and freight gateways that's critically important. So I just really appreciate the time and effort, and this is a valuable document. So thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Any other comments? All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. And with that, we'll wrap up our agenda here. In your packet, you should see the 3-month schedule for the next few months, with August being off. Let's see, and then after that, you guys have a few meeting minutes and reports for your information in there for you guys to peruse afterwards. And then I'm getting to, let's see, the announcements. Keith, do you want to kick us off? I heard you have. All right.
Let's see, let me see how best I can explain this. So last year, many of you on the committee may remember that we worked on a regional safety study that was approved, I think, at the May 2024 meeting. And one of the big purposes of the regional safety study was to serve as a regional safety action plan that localities here could use if you wanted to submit for your own SS4A project. So I know some localities have their own action plans. Other ones don't have the means to do that. So we wanted a regional one that you could use as in place of that if you wanted to submit for SS4A funds. So in previous years, there was a checklist of requirements to make sure that your action plan met the needs of the requirements of an action plan and could use it for those implementation grants. And we made that, when you look at the worksheet, we did satisfy that. So the new administration has changed that slightly. The requirements are still similar. The difference is on that in the worksheet in the past, you didn't need to check every box. If you checked, there were certain ones that were required and other ones you needed to meet like 3 of 5, things like that. Now moving forward, they will still accept your projects, but they will require you to have all of those items put in place in your action plan during the life of the project that you are submitting for. So there was one section that was not included in our in our regional safety study, and that's the policy and process changes section. So I just wanted to say at this point, if you're looking to use our plan as a safety action plan for this round in June, you can go ahead and do that and fill out the self-certification worksheet. It's all right. They'll just require that our plan has this policy and process changes section by the time your project is complete, which you can certify that. So over the next few months, we will amend the plan to make sure that that is included as part of it. We will be working with this group and also the safety working group that we formed as part of this. So I would say over the next 2 to 3 months, we'll kick that off and try to get the working group together and start discussing what to include in that section and try to have that wrapped up here by the end of the year to satisfy the federal requirements. So I don't know if anybody has run into this problem or is planning to submit for SS4A in June using that, but I just wanted to let you know it's not a problem. We just have a little more work on our end that we'll have to do to satisfy those requirements. Happy to take any questions on that anybody might have.
All right. Thank you, Keith. Appreciate it. And, yep, go ahead, John.
All right, we'll add one more. So I've mentioned this a couple times to this group and other groups. If you are planning to submit a TA set aside, otherwise known as TAP application for this round, just please be reminded that I need your requests for letters of support by July 1st. So you still have a little time to get those to me. If you're going to do it, get it to me sooner rather than later. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Just for TAP and not revenue sharing, correct? Just want to clarify.
Just for the TAP, yes.
Thank you. All right. Any other announcements?
Keith, I'm sorry, I had
Yeah.
one quick announcement. There's some staffing changes over at the Hampton Roads District temporarily. My boss, Mike Davis, has been assigned a special assignment up in Fredericksburg District. He's asked me to fill in for him as the deputy district engineer for development and delivery through August. So I've asked Sonia to fill in for me as a planning and investment manager through August. And she's asked Wanda Moore to fill in for her as the locally administered projects director. So anything that you would normally send to me, please include Sonia. Same, things that you would send to Sonia, please include Wanda. But, or include all 3 of us, and we'll make sure the right person gets.
You guys don't have enough emails anyways, right? All right, thank you, Todd. All right, any other announcements? All right, any old or new business? All right, and with that, we are adjourned. See y'all next month.
You got it done.